All right, now we're here with Tim from the Rochester Museum and Science Center. Tim, you got something special for us today.
How you doing, Tim?
Because Halloween is right around the corner.
Yes, it is.
I figured we'd do a little thermite pumpkin.
Very cool.
So it'll be nice. And thermite is one of those things that was actually developed by a guy named Hans Goldschmidt in 1893. He worked with metal, and he was trying to figure out a way to get pure metal. So he was doing a bunch of different things, and he tripped across this idea of thermite. So that was in 1893. In 1895, he patented it because he found out that it was a pretty good way to actually weld things together.
Cool.
Very
So what we're going to do today is we're going to we have inside our good friend Warty, because it's a Warty pumpkin. And inside there we've got a couple of clay pots. In there we've got a little iron oxide.
Okay.
And some
essentially
aluminum.
rust.
Rust, exactly, and aluminum.
And powdered aluminum, right?
Powdered aluminum.
Yeah.
Mix it up. It was 200 mesh if anyone's playing at home.
Okay.
And turn
Don't
around,
play
and
at
we're going
home.
to ignite it with a little bit of an organic ignition. We're going to use a little potassium chlorate and sugar mixed together, and then just touch it off with a little sulfuric acid.
Very cool. Now, this isn't something you do at home.
No.
And,
That's for sure.
You know, for our chemistry students out there watching, this is going to be a very exothermic redox reaction. So this is a very cool.
Yeah,
This is not something that you would do at home.
It's what's really neat with this is it takes that single exchange reaction, it takes those two things, the iron oxide and the aluminum powder, and it melts it together with all that heat, and what should come out of the bottom is molten metal, iron.
Wow.
It'll actually be hot enough that's going to melt our metal.
So it should be. What I want to try is, I've got a little magnet.
Okay.
Put it down into the powder, and you can see it gets powder on it,
Yeah.
but that powder gets on everything.
All right.
Okay.
It's pretty nasty once. Well, it's not bad, except for it gets all over. So right now it's not magnetic.
Okay.
But if this all works out, when it hits the bath, we should be able to put the magnet inside
Pick
and
it up.
pull out some. Now, it won't look like pure metal because it's a really slow ignition. It's a low temperature ignition.
Okay.
It goes from whatever it is out here, what is it, probably 68, 69 or 70. It goes to about 2,300 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's pretty darn hot.
That's pretty hot. It's hot enough to melt metal, but what it also is, they use this thermite to do things like weld underwater.
Wow.
And
So you see guys welding they're using this kind of
Yes,
stuff.
because it produces its own oxygen, so it doesn't need to have any ambient air. And it also, when they do it there, they use things like magnesium that burns really super hot.
Okay.
Right.
And when it does that, that's what makes the reaction a little faster, and it burns off everything. We'll see some slag in this when we get done, but that's all right. We're still
So
going
it's
to
the
get
sugar,
some metal.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, so we
for a
got
lot
the
of
carbon from the
different
sugar left over.
So-
Now, you were saying you saw this used just a couple days ago, right?
Well, it was a couple years ago out in Chilai. I was going across 3 railroad tracks, and I look over and hear these guys. I just missed it. It was just my luck. But they used the clay casting around it, and it was glowing red. What they do is they get a big pot of thermite, and they run it down into it, and it heats up, and the metal goes in. It melds the 2 rails together.
So that's how they can join railroad ties.
And then they'll grind it down.
Cool.
First time it was used was 1899 in Germany for a trolley.
Wow.
Trolley
Wow.
rails.
Very cool.
But what we're going to use to actually light it or ignite it is a little bit of sulfuric acid. So what I'm going to do, it's about ready to do that. If anyone wants to take the top,
I can handle
I
that.
would probably step over a couple
we're
of
step
steps
back a little
that way. And I'm going to take out the acid. We'll set that down here. And I'm going to use a little pipette. And let me see if I can get up enough of that. Here's where it gets a little tricky. You want to make sure that you close up the acid before you start doing anything, just because the last thing you want to think about is what I do with all that acid. So we're all ready? 2, 3.
Whoa.
So right there's our thermite pumpkin.
Wow.
This is a really cool demo to do at night. You can put his top back on. Poor guy probably feels naked.
Wow.
You look inside there.
Burnt the hole right straight through it.
Straight down through.
Yeah.
And actually, let's see if we can find a little.
All right.
Wow.
It might even be melded to.
To the bottom of your pan, is it? Yeah. So what Tim had was he had a pot in here, like a clay pot that you'd pot plants in, and so that kind of directed the hot stuff down into his pan here, and
Well, just
There
show
we
him the
go.
pan,
maybe you
maybe.
you got some. Has it cooled down enough, Tim?
Oh yeah,
Wow.
cool
All
down
right,
way
very
enough.
cool.
Wow.
And let's see if I can find my somewhere I had my
magnet?
There's a magnet.
Yeah. Very
Cool.
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 Yeah.
And actually, that's a really nice.
It's a nice piece.
That's a nice hunk of metal.
Yeah, can you show him the bottom there?
Oh yeah. Well, that's not such a nice hunk of metal. anymore.
No,
It's
Wow.
almost it
You've
almost
used this
burned
pan a few
through.
more times.
And
huh?
all-
Yeah, a
Almost
couple
burnt
of times.
through.
We use it for a bunch of different things, but that came out really nice. We use a sand bath sometimes, but that's really a pretty nice piece of metal, and you can see where it comes out. It's got that nice iron,
Yep.
and they'll turn around. You know who else used it? The Denver Broncos and
Wow.
their practice field, because it's heated,
Yeah.
and all the radiating pipes underneath, they use
Okay,
thermite
keep it
to
warm.
actually just to actually meld them together.
When they were
Oh, wow.
building
Okay,
it.
when they were building it.
Yeah.
So it's really a cool design. It's one of those things that's almost serendipitous because Goldschmidt was trying to find some way to make pure metal, and instead he found a great way to weld things together.
Cool.
And they also call it the Goldschmidt process.
All right.
After him. 'Cause,
And
well,
you
it's
remember
a-
this iron wasn't magnetic before.
That's right, exactly.
Now it is.
Yeah.
Now it is.
Okay.
So it's really pretty neat.
All right.
Yeah. Well, Tim, as always, you got some great experiments for us.
Yep, it was a great time. I shake hands with you, but my hands
It's all right.
It's all right.
All right. Thank you for
Hey,
coming
thanks,
in and
John.
doing us
Thank
another experiment
Tim
for
from
us.
the Rochester Museum and Science Center, and we'll have you back again soon.